The Gallipoli Campaign. When Atatürk stopped the Allies, the Gallipoli Peninsula, April 1915. The narrow strip of land that guarded the Dardanelles Strait had become the focus of one of the most ambitious Allied operations of the Great War. Britain, France, and their colonial armies believed the Ottoman Empire would collapse with a single bold strike. If the Allies forced their way through the straits, they could seize Istanbul, knock the Ottomans out of the war, and open a lifeline to Russia. Their fleets of mighty battleships and armies drawn from the farthest corners of the world gave them confidence. What they did not expect was the ferocity of the Ottoman defense, nor the emergence of a commander who would turn disaster into triumph, Mustafa Kemal. In March 1915, Allied warships tried to smash through the Dardanelles. The sea shook as British and French dreadnoughts hurled their shells at Ottoman coastal guns. Yet the strait was a death trap. Hidden minefields, carefully placed by the Ottoman mine layer Nusret, and heavy artillery batteries lined the shores. On 18th of March, disaster struck the Allies. Ships like HMS Irresistible and the French battleship Bouvet were blown apart, sinking beneath the waves with hundreds of sailors. The great naval gamble had failed. The Allies turned to a land invasion, believing their troops could sweep aside the Ottomans and clear the defenses from the rear. At dawn on 25th of April 1915, the Allies launched their landings. At Cape Helles, British and French troops charged into withering machine gun fire. To the north, Australian and New Zealand forces rode ashore at what would forever be known as Anzac Cove. The cliffs towered above them, the ridges alive with rifle fire. Still, the Anzacs clung to the beaches, clawing their way up the steep ground. For a moment, it seemed they might break through into the heart of the peninsula. It was then that Mustafa Kemal, commander of the 19th Division, made his mark on history. Receiving urgent reports of enemy landings, he personally led his men toward the heights of Chunuk Bair. Along the way, he met exhausted Ottoman soldiers retreating. "Why are you running?" he asked. "Sir, the enemy," they answered, pointing to the advancing Australians. Kemal understood that if the heights fell, the entire defense would collapse. He ordered the men to fix bayonets and lie down, presenting a line of steel to halt the Anzacs until reinforcements could arrive. The Australians, seeing the sudden wall of bayonets, hesitated. It bought just enough time. Then came his most famous command, words that would burn themselves into the memory of his soldiers and his nation. "I am not ordering you to attack. I am ordering you to die. In the time it takes for us to die, other troops and commanders will come and take our place." The men obeyed. They fought with no thought of survival, only of holding the line. Wave after wave of Australians and New Zealanders charged, and wave after wave was thrown back by stubborn Ottoman resistance. By nightfall, the Anzacs were trapped on the narrow beaches. Their foothold shallow, their losses heavy. The chance for a swift Allied breakthrough was gone. Over the months that followed, Gallipoli became a nightmare of trenches, sniper fire, disease, and ceaseless artillery. The peninsula's rocky ridges and gullies turned into killing grounds where every advance cost thousands of lives. The Allies tried new assaults at Krithia, at Suvla Bay, at Chunuk Bair, but each time the Ottomans counterattacked with ferocity, and each time the ground swallowed the attackers in blood. Mustafa Kemal again distinguished himself at Chunuk Bair in August, personally directing counterattacks that hurled the Allies from the summit and restored Ottoman control. By the end of 1915, the Allied armies were broken by exhaustion and loss. 250,000 men had been killed or wounded, with nothing to show but graves carved into the cliffs above the sea. In January 1916, under cover of darkness and silence, the last Allied troops evacuated the beaches they had once stormed so confidently. The campaign was over. For the Allies, Gallipoli was a bitter humiliation. For the Ottomans, it was a shining moment of resistance, proving that their homeland was not so easily conquered. And for Mustafa Kemal, Gallipoli was the crucible that made him a legend. His calm judgment, his ability to inspire men to stand when all seemed lost, and above all, his immortal order to die for the sake of time and victory, transformed him into the foremost hero of the campaign. Out of the trenches of Gallipoli, the man who would one day be called Atatürk stepped into history, and a nation's destiny began to take shape. Please like and follow for more content.